And of course, anybody on council can say, oh, no, I don't want consent, right? They can oppose it. But that way, at least we can get things in the hopper.
Yes, absolutely. And the more we can do that, the easier it'll be on admin too.
I think that is absolutely true.
All right.
And then we can have all kinds of discussions I want to have.
Usually at our Mayor Pro Tem meeting on Thursday, the mayor and Jody are real good about, going through all the items and trying to determine what we can put on consent. And
Nice.
I'm not always sure they're, which are perfectly appropriate, but in general, I think we've been doing pretty well getting items on consent. And as Dot said, anybody can pull those.
Yeah, I mean, I think once the committee stuff gets a little more, shakes out a little bit more, that'll be a real possibility. I'm very optimistic.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're waiting for some more council members and our legislators, which should all be joining us shortly.
And I do know Representative Springer will be in and out pretty quickly. He's got multiple commitments tonight.
Yeah, and Dingra she has to be done by 6:10, I think is what was the last time. Oh, and there she is.
Hi, Senator
Welcome.
Dingra.
Hello.
And you have to be done by 6:10 at the very latest, right? Okay.
Correct.
We're just trying to make sure we get everybody out because you guys are always so busy.
Yes, and I believe Rep Springer may have the same issue because I think we're at
Yes.
the next event together. So
Yeah.
Yes, he does. Mm-hmm.
I think we're just waiting for one more council member.
Is a fire next better than Aquarius?
Good evening, Representative Goodman.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Can hear you just fine.
Mom?
I'm on the road, so hope you understand.
Absolutely. I think we're pleased that you were able to make it at all. So thank you for being here.
Well, it looks like all of our council members are here. Jody, I see we're recording live on Facebook. Do we need to record that anyway?
We're
There
good.
we go. Well, with that, good evening, everyone. My name is Mike Remington, a city council member and mayor pro tem with City of Duval. Today is July 6th. I'll call to order our city council committee of the whole. This evening, we're really blessed to have senators, representatives, as well as Kathy Lambert joining us a little later. It's always nice to get a legislative update. I moved our good of the order to the end of our agenda so that we could get right in and honor the time that our legislators have provided us. And I understand some need to be out by 6:10. So we'll go ahead and get started on our legislative updates with Senator Dingra, Representative Springer, and Representative Goodman. I understand that Representative Springer may be joining us shortly. Senator Dingra, do you want to start us off?
sure, I would be happy to.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting us here today. It's always so important to me, as I'm sure to all my colleagues, on making sure that we always circle back and let people know how things went, what worked well, what didn't, and make sure that we have those lines of communications open and be available to answer any questions and discuss any concerns that you all may have. I'll just start off by saying, when we started this legislative session, there were just so many things going on, uncertainty about our economy, spiking in COVID cases, the political violence that we saw in DC as well as in Washington State, and really about trying to figure out whether we could have a remote session, legislative session. And, I will say, I think the session that we completed is one that is historic for many reasons, for the amount of investments that we have done in the community, in people, in small businesses. It truly has been historic at a time when we needed it to be historic because of what everyone was going through. And the work that we did with police accountability, the work that we did in terms of environment. And so I think there's a lot that we have really, a lot to be proud of. We, right off the bat, made sure that we were spending some of the federal dollars we had. It was very critical that we leverage the federal dollars as much as we could. And so right in the beginning, we used those dollars to really make sure that we were investing those in recovery from the pandemic. And so that happened right away. I will say I'm very proud of the fact that we ended on time with a balanced budget. 4th time in a row. So I always say that ever since I've been elected, we have ended our session on time every single time. And this hasn't happened since 1941. So I always like to throw that out because that is something that I am very proud of. So I don't necessarily want to go through all the details on the dollars unless you guys want me to, but we did a lot of investments in our small business. And we used our federal dollars for that, as well as put in state dollars to make sure that our businesses could survive and thrive. We did a lot of work around childcare. That was one of the things that we heard over and over again all last year. I had a lot of meetings with community. I had monthly meetings with small businesses on the East Side, and everyone was talking about the need for childcare. And I was really disappointed to see the number of women that have ended up leaving the workforce. And the primary reason for that is childcare and continues to be childcare. So I'm very excited about the work that we did there. We had a couple of broadband bills because we do know that infrastructure is, broadband is such a critical part of our infrastructure, especially during COVID and going forward. So there is more happening there. And then again, housing. We all know affordability, homelessness has been such an issue. And so there's a lot of work that we did there as well. And I know that the cities were really hurting. There's a lot of stuff we did around making sure we're providing local governments more financial options to respond to the demands in terms of COVID recovery and behavioral health and housing and homelessness. And so there are a few bills, and I'm happy to go into details, or you guys can ask questions about it. We're really trying to take a look at making sure that cities have the flexibility in terms of when they use their local sales tax, when they're taking a look at ADUs, or taking a look at or expanding the multifamily property tax exemption. So a lot of that work was done, and I'm really hoping that it will be a positive for the cities. I was very pleased to be able to advocate for the capital budget to make sure Duval got the remodel for the wastewater treatment plant and the police station. And I do want to, speaking of police stations, thank Mayor Aucklander for inviting me to join the ceremony in April when we had Officer Benjamin and Officer Hill receive the police chief citation for saving individuals. That was really such an amazing ceremony to be a part of. So thank you once again for inviting me to that. And, there's a lot of work that I do in terms of helping survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, and that work continued. This really was a tremendous year for survivors in terms of legislation, providing them with resources. Because one of the things we found during COVID is that we saw 30% increase in cases of domestic violence. And really just horrible stories coming out of survivors being trapped by their abusers. And so we really in the legislature wanted to make sure that we're putting in those resources to help those survivors. So a lot of work in there as well. And I know Rep. Goodman is here and he can talk about the police accountability stuff because he and I do spend a lot of time in that regard, as well as talking about the criminal justice reform. But I'm going to stop now so that you guys can ask questions and the other representatives can have an opportunity to speak as well. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, may I take just a quick moment?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Thank you. First of all, I think on behalf of all of us, thank you to Senator Dingra and Representatives Goodman and Springer for the capital budget appropriations. That's a huge step forward for us. And we are just absolutely thrilled with that, that those were able to go through. Of note, I just want to let folks know Representative Springer is trying to get online, but his link is not working. So I know that he'll be here as soon as he can. So if the clerk can resend him that information to larry.springer@leg.wa.gov, he'll be on shortly.
Well, Mayor, thank you. I do appreciate especially the monies that came for our facilities. That was such a big boost for us in our small town. All those items that you had mentioned, Senator, are key for us as well. The monies that we received really did help with social services, our businesses. You mentioned behavioral health, and it's one that we're trying to focus on here locally as well. So thank you for all that effort. Representative Goodman is here. I'd love to invite you, Representative, to go ahead and share your thoughts and some of the items you've been working on.
Oh, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. I'm on the road, so I apologize. Actually, just coming out of Ellensburg, but I'm concluding the 14-day cross-country journey with my 14-year-old son. We just drove through 16 states and 4,000 miles. So I'm literally in the last 2 hours of this cross-country journey. And I regret not being either. Well, I frankly regret not being in person with you in City Hall. Next time, let's all get together in person. But want to echo a lot of what Senator Dingra just said in terms of what we were able to provide for, thanks to a lot of federal help, relief for small businesses, for landlords and tenants, for childcare, for the safety net. And it was a truly historic budget and the level of investments we made. But it would not have been possible without the federal, the federal bill going through. And yes, I did help to secure in the House capital budget the $107,000 for the police department, and then the $742,000 for the treatment plant renovation. That's actually a lot of money for one particular item in a capital budget, so we were lucky to get that done. And I always look for an excuse to come out to Duval. I'm just thrilled that you still don't have any fast food restaurants. I think you have a bed and breakfast now, but looking for an excuse to stay there overnight. Senator Dingra and I work together on a lot of projects. We have similar interests and training in the area of public safety. And so we work together on issues related to domestic violence and behavioral health. This year, one of the headline items was the police accountability, but not just holding police accountable for misconduct, but upholding the police profession and improving the relationship between police and the community. It was not sort of a piling on and castigating the police. It really was a collaborative effort. A lot of difficult conversations, and yet we came out with a package to limit or ban certain questionable police tactics, to provide much better statewide guidance on the use of force and a focus on de-escalation rather than the use of force, particularly in incidents involving mental health crisis. We also are going to be improving the training, continuing to improve and broaden the training, and a lot more transparency too. We'll be setting up databases so that the public and the media can see what's going on in terms of police interaction with the community, whether it's stops or searches or arrests or use of force. And the police agencies are actually very interested in this as well, because they want to do the best job they can. And these databases will help them as a diagnostic tool to improve their practices. So that was actually a consensus effort. We passed about, I think, 13 or 14 major bills related to police community relations. I'm confident, although there are some questions that have come up now, but we'll be able to iron them out in terms of how to respond to mental health crisis. I'm confident that the police accountability package will definitely improve police community relations, lessen the use of force, and uphold the profession. We have a few items left on the table, such as more regular behavioral health screenings for police themselves, because the policing job is highly stressful. We really do need to support them. They run into the danger for us, and we need to give them the support they deserve. And also there's this issue about how old someone can be before they serve as a police officer, and we wanted to raise the age, and that was actually controversial. So we'll be continuing that conversation. And also protecting the rights of people who encounter the police, particularly young people. We passed a bill to give juveniles the right to an attorney before police can interrogate them, and that'll help, guide them before they, utter the wrong thing. We actually should provide attorneys to everybody who before they're interrogated. And then another bill related to police interrogations, we're going to record them all, either audio or audio and video recording police interrogations, because too often we have questionable practices where there's false or forced confessions, and then the convictions are unfounded. So, but all in all, I think the process was bringing the police together with the community groups rather than being at odds with one another. And we're going to continue that work moving forward. I chair the Public Safety Committee in the House. We have a full agenda to reduce crime and improve community safety and protect individual liberties. It's a tough balance, but we've been doing a lot of good work lately. And Senator Dinger and I are going to continue our work on innovative ways to address the problem of domestic violence, which is really a chronic problem in our society. And that's one of our top agenda items in the upcoming year. So I'll stop there. And this is a little bit distracting for me to be driving on the freeway, so I might not stay for the rest of the meeting, but I did want to have a chance to say hello to you and remind you that we did get the police department and the treatment plant money for you, and really happy we were able to get that done. So thanks for this opportunity.
Well, Representative Goodman, thank you. You probably can't see our faces while you're driving, but I can tell you that we all have such big smiles about that funding that was able to come through. That's huge for us. And thank you for all the work on with the police as well. We've been so proud of our police department here. They've been doing a lot of work with use of force, de-escalation training for years, and they're looking forward to additional opportunities to grow and change and just make sure we maintain our fine police department. Well, I'd love to open it up with council members. Do you have questions for Senator Dingra or Representative Goodman? Councilmember Lengel.
Really, it's just a statement. We have a terrific police department, as I know you know, and the mayor and her department does a fantastic neighborhood night out every year. And I know the community would just love to meet you folks, and I'm sure show their appreciation for all that you've done for Duval. So neighborhood night out, the mayor has done a great job with that program, and the police department is awesome. So that would be a good opportunity to come see us.
Absolutely.
Yep.
If you let us know when it is, I would absolutely love to. And I'll just say, representing the 45th district, all the cities have really great police departments. Like I've just been so proud of the work that they do, the manner in which they step up, the things they say, and the way they really show up. It's really makes me so proud.
Yeah, let me know when that night out is. I want to, give me a chance to come to Duval. But I do want to stress that, it's possible and actually important to be supportive of the police and supportive of police reform at the same time. And this whole defund the police idea is really not, I do not subscribe to it. I think that what we need to do is actually give the police a break. We have been asking our law enforcement to solve all of society's problems, homelessness, mental illness, racism, juvenile delinquency, you name it. We sort of drop it off at the jailhouse door. And we need to give the police, the assignments that they're trained for and allocate the resources, particularly for behavioral health. As you know, and I know particularly in Duval, we've had a lot of difficult, tragic circumstances with our young people taking their own lives. And so that's probably the number one concern for your community. And so that's why we on the state level are making more and more of an investment in behavioral health. And police have a role to play, but it's more of a collaborative role with mental health professionals. And we're still trying to work out that new protocol. But yeah, we very much support the police and are, passing laws to actually make their jobs easier, but not take resources away from them.
So well said. I see we have a phone caller. I just want to check and see if that's Representative Springer.
Yes, this is technologically challenged or technologically overwhelmed Representative Springer. Nothing seemed to work tonight.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We've had an opportunity to hear from Senator Dhingra and Representative Goodman. Larry, if you're in a place that's safe and able to go ahead and talk with us, we've just been hearing about some of the investments that have been made at the state level, and hearing about the balanced budget and ending the session on time was sure nice. But talking about a lot of the things that we've been able to do related to the pandemic and how pleased we were to get funding for both our police and our utilities building. So thank you for that. Well, Larry, I'll turn it over to you if you have a few things you'd like to share.
Yeah, I can share a few things that were highlights for me. Unfortunately, my time is short. I've got to address the East Side Homelessness Council at a little after 6 o'clock. So let me just go quickly here. My major role as part of the leadership team and as Deputy Majority Leader is to serve on both the Finance Committee and the Appropriations Committee. So I'm on the committee that figures out how to raise money and then on the committee that spends it. So you already highlighted the balanced budget that we arrived at on time. That was not an easy process, particularly since we went into the session fearing a really drastic reduction in our budget amount. Luckily, that turned out not to be true. So what we focused on at the very beginning of the session was a $2.2 billion allocation in week 3 of the session to get out to the community to help deal with the effects of the shutdown, primarily in the form of subsidies for small businesses, small business grants, working on ways to get certain retail businesses back open, particularly in small town Washington. We spent a good deal of money to prop up our K-12 system and the transportation system. We spent $700 million to support the public health system as it dealt with the pandemic. $365 million went to housing assistance, food assistance, and direct economic assistance to families. So it was our way of using a good deal of the federal money to get it quickly into the hands of those most affected. And the communities that were most affected by the shutdown and the loss of economic activity were, communities of color and particularly women in small businesses and the loss of daycare. The loss of daycare has turned out to be one of the Achilles heels of the whole pandemic. So we're working at trying to get that back. So that was sort of a quick overview of the budget. The one disappointment I think I would share is we were unable to find agreement on a transportation package. We're not done yet. It is conceivable that negotiations, while they're still ongoing, could call us back into special session, possibly for that purpose. So hopefully keep your fingers crossed. For me, I really had just one bill I worked on this session, and that was House Bill 1168. It was the wildfire prevention mitigation bill. It was the first piece of legislation that actually sets out a 20-year plan to address the impact of wildfire as it relates to climate change. The bill will appropriate $125 million every biennium for the next 10 biennia. That's 20 years. And it will do three things, three buckets, I should say. One, it will hire permanently 30 or 40 new Department of Natural Resource firefighters. It will bond against some of that revenue to purchase equipment. Right now, the Department of Natural Resources, when they are flying helicopters, the two they have both flew in the Vietnam War. It's time to get something that's a little more manageable and a little more reliable. It also will allow them to buy equipment to pre-position it. We can predict when wildfires are coming to some degree and kind of where we think they're going to be. So if we can pre-position equipment, we can attack quicker. Second part is to help communities create community protection zones, create grants for small towns and the residents thereof to help them with appropriate building materials. You all know what happened to the small community of Malden, south of Spokane last September during the Labor Day weekend firestorm. That town, 80% of the town burned to the ground in 3 hours, including the post office, city hall, the fire department, and the one fire truck was completely destroyed. And we need to identify, this bill will also help identify those communities most at risk. Right now, ones that are on the list of being sort of in the path of future wildfires are the town of Roslyn, Leavenworth, and I wouldn't be surprised but what Duval will make the list, since you are so close to a number of forest lands in your area. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be in the middle of a 50,000 acre national forest. You just have to have forest land around you. So hopefully that will help. And the third part, and then I'll stop if there's any questions, the third part, what I think is the most important, is it sets out a 20-year commitment to forest health. Those firefighters that we hired to begin with, when the fire season is over, they will be in the forest thinning, clearing, doing controlled burns, getting rid of diseased trees, creating canopy space, between the canopies of trees. Some of the fires we've had in the last couple of years burned in areas that had not burned for over 100 years, and the fuel load was astronomical. And so the intensity becomes almost overwhelming. So we want to get out into the forest, clear those, be strategic about where we should be thinning. And this is a long-term commitment. It's not going to end wildfire, but the numbers are staggering. I'll just share 3 or 4 numbers with you that got everybody's attention. In the decade of the 90s, Washington State burned on average through wildfire about 84,000 acres a year. In the next decade, it was 189,000 acres per year. And in the last decade, last half of that decade, we burned 490,000 acres per year. And last September, that 3-day firestorm, the state burned 812,000 acres, including near Sumner and on the Olympic Peninsula. So this is real. Hoping for a damp, cool summer is not a strategy. So we need to take a long range look at this. So that was my major focus for the year. And the bill passed unanimously out of the House and the Senate. The governor signed it. So we're hopefully on our way.
Representative Springer, thank you for that. I love having each of you come here. I hear details that we don't always get personally, and so it's exciting to hear. Certainly, we are one of those that have the wildland urban interface. I'm a little nervous if I see a helicopter landing now, since you're pre-positioning some equipment near danger spots. But thank you for all that work. I know the forest health is just going to be a huge improvement to get rid of some of that big fire load. Well, we have a little bit of time left. I'd like to open it up to council members or staff members that may have a question for the senator or our representatives. Council members, any comments or questions? Councilmember Brunicki.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to our representatives for really supporting our town. It's such a small little town. And I do remember Senator Dingra when you supported us way back when we paid you a visit a few years ago, and how we were able to get the stage and now all this other infrastructure thing that's so desperately needed. And I do want to say a comment as a business owner. I did not qualify, of course, for loans or anything, but I did appreciate from the federal government the trickle down to my clients that trickled down to me. So somehow it all worked, and I'm still in business. So thank you.
Well, I'm so glad you're still in business. And it's been really nice to see so many of these small businesses. I just feel like I've over COVID, I've created more of a personal connection with the small businesses that I frequent. I just felt people made the effort to care a little bit more, to reach out. And that's been really great to see. My favorite Mexican food is still in Duval, so I always love coming out there to go there.
Well, thank you. Other questions or comments? Councilmember Schaefer, and then Police Chief DeBach.
So first and foremost, thanks to each of you for supporting Duval, especially in the areas where a small town has some potentially special needs. Mental health is one of those areas, and I know that's been a big issue for us over the pandemic. And to hear you guys talk about your support for mental health is a big deal. So thanks for that. Also, thank you for your longer term views. Some of the areas you've talked about obviously does have the longer term years or decades in mind. That's absolutely the mindset that we need to take going forward. Short term views just don't cut it anymore. Global warming, an example of that, and we're paying the price now. And thank you also for the support of our local police department. As Councilmember Brunicki said, we have an absolutely superb police department. It continues to be top-notch. Community support, community touch is a major focus of our police department, and it absolutely deserves your support. And thank you very much for that.
Chief DeBach,
Thanks for those comments.
minutes left.
Representative Springer, I'm going to have to drop off. I just got pinged by the interfaith group that I'm up next. So
Great.
I'm going to run to my next Zoom call. Hopefully it'll be more successful than the last one. So thank you, folks. Appreciate you.
Great, Representative Springer. Thank you. Be safe. Take care. Chief DeBach.
I wanted to say thank you all for coming and joining us this evening and spending some time with us, and the information you shared was definitely beneficial, and I enjoyed listening to that. I also wanted to thank you for your continued support of our police department and getting us the funding needed for these changes that are long overdue. I'm looking forward to improving the quality of life for all our officers at our police department. And if you are interested in coming out with us, August 3rd at 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. is the date. It's Tuesday, August 3rd. If anyone's interested in coming out, we'd love to have you. Thank you.
Great. That's a national night out. Well, thank you, Chief. Other questions or comments? Well, not
You know,
singing.
I'll just mention really quickly. I know I didn't talk a lot about behavioral health because I feel I talk about it a lot all the time. I do chair a behavioral health subcommittee in the Senate. And of course, it's work that's very close to my heart. And so I just want all of you to know that the strides we've made in behavioral health in the states, especially in the last 3 years, really have been transformative. We really are switching the system around, providing more accountability, really ensuring that we can do early intervention and have access to treatment when people are ready for it, in terms of both severe mental illness as well as substance use disorder. And there's just so much more in that arena, especially with us being prepared for the new 988 number that the federal government has authorized and will be coming into our communities next year. And we're taking that opportunity to really make sure we're understanding all the holes in our system and finally creating a statewide behavioral health system, which we actually don't have a statewide system. So lots more on that. I'm always happy to go into more detail about behavioral health if anyone's interested.
Well, thank you. I think Councilmember Naplin, you had your hand up next.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly say thank you for the direct funding for our facility maintenance. It's, you know, often not the flashy thing to do and hard to pull the money together to do those necessary improvements. And I know our staff and council and administration is just extraordinarily grateful for the money on that project. So just wanted to make sure I said that.
Thank you. Councilmember Branicki.
Yes, I had a question for Senator Dhingra in regards to mental health care. I have been working, I have a lot of youth that I come across, and I was wondering if the state is looking at a type of like facility or something, because leaving them out on the streets, I don't think is a good solution. And I'm wanting to know, is there going to be, or are there plans? I know you've been so active, and you're right, you are making inroads because I keep tabs with all these things. And so I really appreciate this, but I'm curious to know, looking to the future, are we going to look at some solution where we can house these folks that need resources and you know, to live or not on the streets?
Yes. No, that is really such a great question, because, you know, once you have housing, a lot of stability comes into line because of that. So I will say we started doing a lot of capital funding for supportive housing and doing a lot of work around making sure when people even go into inpatient treatment that they are released actually to housing instead of back into homelessness, because you know, it just continues to cycle if you can't get them stable housing. A lot of that housing actually has been built up now and is ready in lots of different parts of our state. So the inventory of supportive housing has increased, and it's something we're going to continue to do. I think what was really brought to the forefront during the pandemic, and that a lot of people who've been working in homelessness do know that the congregate living situation does not work. You know, in order for people to feel safe and secure, they need a door they can lock. They need a place they can keep their belongings. They need a place that doesn't have, like, you know, 30 rules that they cannot comply with. And so a lot of that was brought to bear with COVID, when we had to make those changes and people realized, oh, wow, when you provide secure, safe housing for individuals with locked doors, their mental health and behavioral health actually improves. They're able to take their medication. Like, they can get 8 hours of sleep without it being interrupted, and how all of that leads to stability. So I think there's a lot that COVID has taught us that we need to make sure we're capitalizing on, in addition to all the investments we've been doing in the past and will continue to do. And I just want to mention children a little bit more, just because, you know, I have teenage kids, and we know that COVID has really impacted their behavioral health. One of the things that I love that we did is we did partial hospitalization for our youth. And that is something I would love to see expanded for adults as well, where they can get intensive treatment, but then they can come home and sleep, for those individuals who have a family who wants to help and are a resource. And so you don't have those beds being taken by individuals that actually have a home to go to, but need that intensive treatment and support during the day. So we're trying to get really creative in making sure we're utilizing the resources in the best way possible. Hand in hand is workforce. I cannot tell you how many times I hear from parents where they're trying to get a psychiatrist or a psychologist for the kid, and they're waiting like 3 months to get an appointment. So we have been working on workforce issues, and actually the last meeting I had was a 2-hour meeting on workforce in our state, and really taking a look at, internationally, what are other countries doing? And there's this really great program out of the UK where you have bachelor's level individuals who are able to help support the psychologists and the psychiatrists in doing a lot of their work. And so really trying to incorporate a lot of these models, because we do have people, young youth, who want to get into these fields, but they can't necessarily get a master's right off the bat and pay those loans and get into this work. So just know there's a lot of that going on along with the housing, because even if you provide the housing, you gotta have the people who are helping those individuals to stay stable. So we're taking a look at the whole spectrum and making sure we're not leaving anything behind.
Well, I think we're just running out of time. I will say I couldn't be more pleased seeing the support for folks suffering from substance or behavioral health issues. It will make a difference in people's lives. Well, thank you for being here tonight. I know that you have other obligations to head to. So Senator Dhingra and Representative Goodman, thank you for your time this evening. And we look forward to seeing you again, and hopefully in person.
Thank you. It's always such a pleasure to be here with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thanks for your excellent leadership in Duval. And I'm going to be there for Night Out on August 3rd. So thanks for letting me know about that.
Love it. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Well, that was a pleasure. I'm really looking forward to being able to go to our second item here with Councilmember Kathy Lambert. I feel like she's very much a part of our own community. Time that she's spent here supporting and helping and encouraging and providing feedback. And so Kathy, I just welcome you and would like to turn it over to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I have a little laryngitis, so please pardon my voice. Yes, I am an honorary citizen now. I think it's 3 years since you made me an honorary citizen. And now that I take up residence 1 day a week in your community with my grandchildren, that is where I go to recreate, because I have my little people to enjoy on Sundays. So I get to spend a lot of time in your community too. So thank you very much. In some of the things you were just hearing from our legislators, I wanted you to know that I am very happy with our Commissioner of Lands, Hillary France, in what she has been saying about how the forests need to be maintained, because they have not been maintained well. And we have a gentleman who was a commissioner when the big fires happened a couple of years ago, and he was surrounded by state, county, and federal lands. And he talked about how they burned at very different rates. And I think that's one of the things we really need to look at. What were the practices that made them burn much more quickly, and making sure that we have the best practices. And the helicopters, most of our helicopters are very old. And so getting new helicopters, both at the state and the county level, I think is really, really important. I think it's funny that Night Out is August the 3rd. That's election primary night. So there'll be lots of activities that night. So you'll probably see me in town that night too. I wanted to thank, first of all, the city for all your great work and your vaccination rate. It was quite amazing. Your zip code has 77.9% of the residents over 12 who have completed the series of COVID vaccine, and 84% with at least one dose. That is just amazing. So you're well above the county average, and that's really a very admirable situation. And I want to thank your police department. I love your videos. Your videos when you were doing those dances, oh my gosh, I can't even tell you how many times I watched that video. You know, you need a little distraction at 2 in the morning. So I really understand, well, you're a great police policing and community policing. But I gotta tell you, I love those videos. So keep those up. So they're very amazing and get the message across in a very kind of way. So welcome to the new Chief of Police, Mike DeBach. Welcome to you. And I hope that you have a long and happy career in a wonderful city. And happy retirement to Chief Hurt. I hope that your retirement chapter is everything that you hope it will be. I think it was Goodman that said about you may be listed at some point on the issues with being near a tree-laden canopy. And it's really important, as you may well remember, a number of years ago when Carnation caught on fire, and I walked those fire lines until 2 in the morning. We had fire trucks from all over the area. And one of the things that I learned is we don't have very good fire lines. And also we had a lot of flammable plants that were around very important infrastructure. I had never thought about what is the flammable rating of this plant, but now I think about what is the flammable rating of this plant when I plant a plant around my house, or when I know that the plants are being planted around county infrastructure. So if you have never thought about flammability ratings of a plant, you might want to look at that. And also, you know, Firewise has some amazing things. And I know Firewise is very active with your CERT team in your area. But, you know, I used to put bark every year up to my front door. And so that gives the fire a path to go. So we don't do that anymore. So it's just important that we really look at all the things that we can do to keep ourselves safe. So I wanted to say that we've been really busy at the county. I can't even begin to tell you how busy we've been. We have done 9 budgets this year, and you all know how fun getting into budget negotiations are. They are lots of work, but lots of good things come out of it. So we are working on our last of the COVID budgets. And we had our first meeting on it today, and it wasn't what we had hoped. We had thought the executive was going to do more work in dealing with our court system and putting more money into that than he did. And I think that every member of the budget committee was very clear that we need more money for the courts. The courts are 9,500 cases in the Superior Court and 9,000 cases in the District Court behind. They are using a lot of technology, which is very exciting, and they will continue to do jury empanelments by video, which is very exciting. So we can use the technology, and they're finding that the jury pool is more diverse because of that, and that's also a very good outcome. But we have got to get the plan together, and the plan is a 3-year plan to be able to get all these cases together. So that is a really important thing. We are also, as you know, putting together the hiring of a new sheriff, hopefully before January. We voted today to give a little more time to the committee who will be out talking to all the people about what you want the attributes of the next sheriff to be. And they're taking 4 or 5 months now to figure that out. I think most of us could figure that out a lot more quickly than 5 months, but I've asked that they go on with some of the other parts of hiring a committee to go out and do the recruiting while this is happening, because obviously it's pretty clear what basic characteristics we're going to need in this person. So that is going to be very important. The second thing is that under Charter number 6, it allows, because King County is a home rule charter county, we have the ability to completely change what are the duties and responsibilities of the sheriff's office and even overturn the RCW. That is something that I am very concerned not happen. I do believe that the 6 outlines of what a sheriff should do should be similar throughout the state. If we want to add to it, that is fine. But they are so basic that I don't see any reason, like they will go to court when needed. They will put warrants out when they are needed. They will stop writing when needed. So they're very basic. That's half of them. And I don't see any reason why we would change what the rest of the state does. If we want to add, as I said, then that's fine. So looking at that will be important. And I think having your input, even though you have your own police department, you do partner with us. And so I think it will be very important that you have input in what is going on here. So we do have council members that think that no traffic stop should happen, and that that we should have more bicycle officers, even if we are going to do traffic stops, that they should be on bicycle. And that does concern me, because sometimes traffic stops are at excessive speeds, and I don't know too many bicycle riders that could pull over a car going 80 or 90 miles an hour, nor would I want them to do so. So there's going to be a variety of ideas about what this should look like in the future. And I think you have a great department, and it's well received by your community. And I think that's really what we need to have countywide. So I wanted you to know that. Also, there's a lot of talk about, that the county should be a leader in criminal justice. And I wanted you to know that when I hear that, it makes me laugh, because we are already a leader in criminal justice. When I go to the National Association of Counties and they hear I'm from King County, they have often said, we don't really want to hear from the speaker. We want to hear from her, because she's in the county that is at the lead in most things nationally. So be aware that we are one of the leaders. We have the lowest incarceration rate of juveniles for any metropolitan county in the United States. Sometimes we're number 2, sometimes we're number 1, but we are definitely among the top in the nation for that rate. And that is because we have partnered mental health and services with, and counseling with our juveniles. When I got elected, there were 178 children in detention. Today, there is 17. 7 of those are in for murder. So these are not easy kids to deal with. And so they do need services, and they do need to be getting the counseling and be in a place where they and the community are safe. So I wanted you to know that. Let's see. We also in the budget put in Radar, and Radar is a program that partners the counselors with the policemen. It was piloted in the north part of the county. And so we are now making it countywide for the unincorporated area and piloting that. We're hiring new Radar officers. And then we're hoping that later on that it can be available countywide. But that's an exciting thing for the unincorporated areas who are near you. I was glad to hear the legislators talk about video. And it's really important that as they do video, that they begin to talk about the redaction. Redaction is very, very expensive, in the millions of dollars. And so they're going to have to help fund that, because most municipalities are not going to be able to afford the redaction software and the employees required to do that. I want you to know that tomorrow at 3 o'clock, the Clean Water Plan will be televised. Of course, it'll be on computer for later, from the Regional Water Quality Committee. We have just been told by the Department of Ecology that they are not okay with the number of sewer overflows that are coming out of our West Point facility. And so we are going to have to do some big changes. And so I wanted you to know about that. I know you have your own wastewater plant. Lucky for you. And please keep it up, because it gets very expensive over time. Many of you know that I've been very interested in waste to energy. We are going to be doing a couple of things. We are going to be monitoring aerially the methane and the nanoparticles coming off of the landfill. So we will get proper data, which we have not had before. And so I'm excited about that. We are about to spend $22.9 million to dig a new hole at Cedar Hills. I am not in favor of digging another hole for $82.9 million that will last for 7 years, when we could be putting that money into much better technology. So those are some things that are coming up that will be talked about with your pick at Sound Cities. So I just wanted you to know that. We have worked on tenant protection law, And so there's a lot of issues with that. The state just passed the tenant protection laws, and the county decided that the state had not done enough, apparently. And so we have greatly increased the number of tenant protections, which means I bet there's going to be a lot of new landlords buying in Duval, where those aren't the prevailing legislation beyond what was state law. You know, and you talked about it on your meetings before, that the county has banned fireworks. And so next year that will take effect, which will also have an impact on your city. Luckily, as far as I know, I kept asking today, nobody heard any big problems with fires. So I really appreciate the idea that citizens were very prudent in what they were doing last night. So that's great. The last topic I wanted to talk to you about was a new one from the Puget Sound Regional Council. And they are now showing some pilot projects on stormwater parks. And I can send the mayor the link to the stormwater parks project through PSRC. And it's very exciting to see what is possible so that the detention ponds are useful and better for the environment and a better protection for kids. And they are going to do 4 demonstration projects, 1 in each of the counties through PSRC. And so I'm looking forward to seeing where this demonstration project will be in our county. But I think that it will be a great learning opportunity for us all to look at how we better can deal with our stormwater. So I think that's all the things that last but not least, we are, as you know, set a goal for affordable housing that we need to build housing, 44,000 houses by the year 2026. And I am very concerned that we have a great plan for 2050 and a great plan for 2026, but we have no plan on how we're going to get to those goals. And that is where we're going to be having a meeting in September with some people to talk about how do we get 45 approximately houses being built every single day so that we can be able to have the affordable housing that we need for the number of people that are going here. I am very concerned that the plan calls for much of the growth to come into Seattle. But with the new information we've gotten this week from the Department of Ecology, if we don't have better wastewater opportunities, that they will cut off growth. So they've said they will work with us, but that's a serious threat if we're planning for that many people to go into a place that does not have the basic infrastructure of wastewater. So lots of big issues, and I'm excited to work on all of them. And I'm happy to answer any questions that people might have.
Kathy, thank you. So much information. Councilmember Naplin, do you have your hand up for the question?
Sure. Thank you, Councilmember Lambert, for coming. It's always fun to see you, and you're everywhere. It's so funny. I was driving with my husband and kids, and I think we were going through Snoqualmie, and there was a little service happening at, I can't remember where. And I saw you. You were standing there with a group. I don't know if it was Veterans Day or Memorial Day. Anyway, and I could see you from the road. I'm like, there's Kathy. She's everywhere.
She's everywhere. Thank you.
But my question is, I'd love to hear more about the PSRC stormwater parks. I don't know if that's something I could just find myself, but that's really intriguing. And wouldn't it be cool if we could be one of the demonstration projects?
I think so. And even if we don't get to be the one that they finance, and I'll just give it to you real quick. PSRC.org /our -work /stormwater-parks. And it's all right there. They've got a great book with lots of pictures, lots of instructions. And I think you're going to have fun looking through that. I don't always say that reports are fun to look through, but this one's fun to look through. It's got some great ideas.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it. And then the other question I had is about the sewage problem, wastewater, is that something that is an unincorporated thing, or if it needs to be fixed, even though Duval has theirs under control, do we all have to pay to fix the problem for everyone? Does that make sense?
Yes, no, you do not have to do that. You have your own system. So it would be the cities that are in the contiguous area that feed into those systems. But it's going to be more expensive than we thought. The idea the Department of Ecology has said we're coming out with new nitrogen and biosolid regulations. Oh, I should tell you that because that will impact you on your sewer system. They're coming out with new regulations. They're coming out this week. They will have, currently they're saying that you have to have your comments back by mid-August, but our county is putting a letter in to say, please extend that to mid-September. And so we don't know yet whether they will extend it, but they haven't really decided what the new standards for the nitrogen and the biosolids is going to be yet. And so they've thrown out a number of very expensive propositions, and the county is very concerned about the cost and how we are going to manage to do that in the footprint that we have. And so that is going to be a very big deal that we're going to need to deal with. And it's kind of unknown at this point because we don't know which of their suggestions are going to hold.
That's really interesting. So maybe that's something that our public works director at some point can let us know if it looks like it will impact changes we might need at our facility. So thank you.
So you might want to listen to tomorrow at 3 o'clock because they're going to brief us on what this is at this point and give the information about where to make comments to.
Thank you. Other questions, comments from council? Councilmember McHenry.
I don't have a question. I just want a quick comment just to thank you, Councilmember Lambert, for your coming tonight and keeping us updated. And what Councilmember Naplin said, I always see you somewhere. I saw you at the Carnation Parade. You were too far for me to yell, but I just wanted to say we appreciate seeing you at our local events and in the community. It means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, now that I'm an honorary citizen, I have to be honoring my citizenship. Thank you. Duval's a great town, and I think your police chief, when they gave me that, it's a place that I hide out at 1 and 2 in the morning when I need a sanity break from Seattle. And when they gave me the award, Amy, do you remember? They said, that is you that's been walking around town at 1 and 2. We wondered who it was. And it looked like you. I said, yeah, that's why. So my hideout place. So officer, if you see me at 1 or 2 in the morning, I just need a sanity break. Come say hi.
Questions or comments from other council members? Well, not seeing any. Kathy, I just want to extend our appreciation to you as well. It's great having your family here in town and having you join us. You do so much to support our entire community, and not just with kind words, but real solid support, even funds that you have direct access that you've provided to help support us with parks and other things with our businesses during COVID. We're a small town and all that makes such a big difference for us. So thank you for your support and kindness.
You're welcome. It was fun giving out that 16,000 masks. And when I got them all given out, so my husband could have his truck back, he's like, good job. That was fun.
Well, Kathy, thank you. You're welcome to stay. I know that you have a busy schedule as well. So you have a good evening tonight.
Thank you. I was there for a while too. So I'm always anxious to hear what's going on in Duval.
Great. Thank you. Well, we'll move on to our next topic. This is going to be a job description for city administrator, and that will be shared with us with our interim city administrator, Mr. Ryan Cotton. Ryan, I think you're still on mute. There we go.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the City Council. I think I'd like to enlist the support of Representative Lambert on the recruitment team. I think she definitely has the right approach to getting the word out about Duval. So I couldn't agree more. with what I've experienced, and we'll just need to get that word out. So today, or later in the agenda, we're going to talk about possible changes to the Duval Municipal Code that will support the recruitment and the position and its operation for the benefit of all the citizens, and especially the city council and the staff and the mayor. Right this minute, during the committee of the whole, I wanted to go through the job description, which is the mayor's decision as to what to put in that job description. Of course, it is going to be informed by whatever code changes you end up making, not tonight, but probably I'm hoping at the next meeting. Some of the moving pieces associated with this whole process includes the recruitment statement, the recruitment brochure, the organizational chart, and all of those things are still going to be developed, once again, in conjunction with what you end up suggesting on the job description and what you end up deciding on the Duval Municipal Code changes. So I think you've heard the story. When I went to the job description to begin the process of making sure it appeared to be up to date, it was comprehensive. And I went to the code to see, if they matched. And there was next to nothing in the Duval Municipal Code. So at a minimum, we need to rectify that with some form of support for that job description. I went to other city administrators and spoke with them, got some other ordinances based on our conversation last meeting. There was a suggestion that we look at other smaller communities. I had looked at Kent and Clyde Hills. So with the support and help of Daniel, city attorney, I think there were 5 total, and I listed them in my report that I'm going to go over here in a minute. And he revised the suggested code provisions. He started with a template that I provided, and then added and subtracted as he thought was appropriate and based on what the other models were that he saw. Those models are attached to this agenda item, I think later on in the council meeting, for further conversation, as well as you want to borrow or change it further. So with that, I want to share my screen and go through the job description, which is a little boring, but it makes all the difference when the person is on board in terms of how effective they are and what direction they're given. It's not the only direction they'll be given. I hope that there will be a strategic planning process that you'll engage in. Once they're on board, I hope that there is a management by objective approach where you set objectives, and of course, an onboarding process that would orient and make sure that person is effective in all regard. But it is a key place to start. So I'm going to share my screen. And okay, I've got it in front of me. And well, as some of you know, this looks different to me every time. There should be a screen, a button I can hit. Oh, I'm sharing it now.
It just popped up. So we have the interim city administrator.
Good. So a lot of this, whoa, I lost it. There it is. A lot of this is what I went over earlier. The need to align the code. And these are the types of provisions that we're going to talk about in a few minutes in the council agenda. And the whole point is to clarify the overall level of authority, clarify the city administrator with making policy recommendations, clarify their role vis-a-vis the mayor, council, and the staff, clarify the administrator's roles and responsibilities to ensure proper staff support, as well as supervision, and clarify what appointments are made by the city administrator and how they get, how the people are found. So we're going to go over the draft job description and the draft job advertisement. So this is the draft job description. It's not in final form yet, but I wanted to give it to you in at least in a way that you can see the major variables. So in the second paragraph here, the second sentence, I'm just going to point out some key things, make sure we've all seen them. Key responsibilities include supporting the mayor and the city council in all assigned internal and external operations of the city, representing the city to the public and other agencies, developing, implementing short and long-term organizational goals, etc. So I think that kind of says it very succinctly, that they're key person that's going to be supporting everything that you do and everything that you need. I added this sentence here: this position requires an oath of faithful performance to the individual's duties. That cannot be there if you don't include it in the Duval Municipal Code amendments later on. I found that when I take on a new task like this, being administered an oath creates a soberness about the duties that I think end up in providing the right kind of seriousness and ability to extend oneself even beyond what is ordinarily required. If you get what I mean, it creates loyalty. So we'll do this instead. Level of authority: the city administrator exercises direction and authority as provided by the mayor. That's per state law. This individual manages the day-to-day operations of the city and exercises overall supervision of all city personnel. That would be in conjunction with support of the mayor. The mayor is the chief administrative officer of any city with a mayor council form of government. Yet this job description, after reviewing with the mayor, with the support of the mayor, and of course the mayor's choice and recommendation to the council, would include this delegation of this authority. Moving on, and if someone wants to stop at any point here to make a statement, that's fine with me. I just want to call out some major things I want to make sure everyone has seen. So appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the city council, the city administrator receives administrative direction from the mayor. Like I just said, this individual will directly supervise the chief finance director, works director, city clerk, community development director / deputy city administrator, and IT manager, which maybe remains a contractual position, but anyway. So the mayor will be basically delegating authority to that person to handle that day to day and week to week. Right now, we all meet in weekly meetings, and going forward, as a practical matter, the mayor may find it useful to either Zoom in or not, maybe spend more time on external affairs with other agencies, maybe working with council and committees on policy development. That would be the option of the mayor and their choice. But the person would be hired with the understanding that they would be responsible and have the authority to do that. So I'm going to move a little bit further into all these detailed bullet points, and without belaboring them all, I wanted to point out that this is not in the current job description, but the person would serve as the personnel and human resource officer for Duval. That's something that we've done quite well without that responsibility clearly being delineated. But I don't know if you can count on that forever. So it's important to make sure many administrators are the human resource officer elsewhere. So that makes it pretty crystal clear. And of course, the person would need to be recruited. And one of the things we'd have to determine is whether they have that capability and capacity. That by its very nature, it's both a plus. I think it's more of a plus, but I do want to point out it could be viewed as a minus by some. Someone who is going to be aligned with that goal is going to be employing more of a servant leadership approach, approach that is collaborative. Unlike maybe one who maybe comes from a more direct line of authority, chain of command, militaristic type of a process towards leadership. So I think that's more what I think the former is more what Duval needs, but I point that out as something for your thought. Moving down here, through delegation. So making it clear, we have very capable staff. Our department heads are motivated, knowledgeable, experienced, and loyal. So they don't need to be micromanaged. So this makes it clear that through delegation, the person would oversee, motivate, and evaluate department directors and key staff. Sometimes you can end up with someone who wants to do it all themselves. and they will not be successful, certainly not as successful as if they delegated. Serves as the economic development manager for Duval. That's another area where we don't have any clear delineation of responsibility. It's a shared goal. We all work on it from time to time, and that's not to mean that we won't in the future, but there would be a point person clearly designated, and performs other duties in the interest of the city as assigned by the mayor. Before I get into the desired minimum qualifications, I think I'll just pause there, Mayor Pro Tem, and see if there are any thoughts or suggestions or questions so far.
Thank you, Mr. Cotton. Questions from council. Councilmember Langle.
There, my mute's off. I don't want to get into the details of this, but I just thought I'd just list quickly a couple things that, first of all, my overall comment about the job description is I liked it very much. And I do think it did a nice job of fleshing out a future way of working that I think could be very successful. There was a couple of things that I noticed where I don't know how we're going to do this, but talk, even more, a little more clarification around the operational role of, I understand administration is administration, but I've mentioned this to you before. How are we going to work this with the committee structure, and how department directors would be part of that or not part of that, supplemental staff. So that's an area that I am interested in. A specific one has to do with the finance director. Now, in our current code, the finance director, and we've told the state auditor this, is the finance director is our internal auditor. And of course, internal auditors are not just people that, criticize. They're also people that mentor, bring systems along. So what the language in your draft says is that you partner with the finance director. And I'm wondering if that section leads to something we might need to tweak in our code related to the finance director, or whether that language there goes on to preserve the language in our current code, which says if a finance director sees that something is, I think the word is irregular in the current code, they are responsible to report to council. So it seems like that's an area maybe for refinement to make sure things are in sync. I did note the thing on the economic development manager. I think that's great for the job description. But then I wondered, okay, if it's in the job description, does your other more generic language make it clear that you can assign that work? And I think it does, but since we don't have an economic development manager, I wasn't quite sure. And then the last one is an area that we've had a little bit of needing to go back and forth with administration, has to do with community relations. And I'm fine with the language that's in there, but I do think we have to have something in there that makes it clear that council members, still have rights to communicate, work with the community groups. I mean, it's really a caveat that says, yeah, this is how it's going to work, but none of this is going to interfere with council members and they're working with their constituents or constituent groups. So that's kind of a little tweaking there. So those were ones that stood out for me. But overall, I thought it was a really good draft.
Okay. In the interest of time, Mayor Pro Tem, may I address some of those questions when we get to the next agenda item?
Yes.
And I think that there are good suggestions, and our attorney is not with us tonight, but he's expecting my report tomorrow to let him know what should be tweaked. So thank you very much, Councilmember Lingle. You've given us some wording to look at. 5 years progressively responsible experience doesn't sound like a lot, especially later on. It says that education experience can be combined. But that's intended to make sure that the funnel is wide enough to capture people from a variety of persuasions. So they might have 20 years experience, but it might not be municipal or governmental. So we went on to discount those candidates. The other thing is Sequum, did I pronounce that right? They just extended their application deadline. They're being recruited by Basinger and Associates, a national firm, by 2 weeks. So that tells me, and they are offering up to $180,000, and they're just a little bit smaller than Duval. Some of you might know something else about the county they're in. Maybe it's not as attractive for some other reason, but that kind of concerns me that I need to work harder because that means they didn't get enough applicants. So, whoa, I keep doing that. So these abilities, HR, economic development, I want to go to a draft. So I'm running through here. The next one is the draft job posting. Okay. I will get something back to you in terms of what it will look like after we do those tweaks and based on what I hear later on. But I know you need to go at 7, so I just want to make it clear. This is a posting that follows the template of the Association of Washington Cities. It'll look different depending on where it's posted. 152 and change, I think, is what is budgeted in the second year of the biennial budget. I say to be determined because I'm doing a mini salary survey, and you probably saw that later on. I also, I've already put dates in here because applicants like to know that, and they can plan their vacations, other things, their meetings around that. So it also keeps us on task. And those are consistent with the schedule I already gave you. So here's the existing one. And I won't belabor that. I just want to get to the salary survey. So I'm going to expand on this because I was doing some more research today about communities and their sizes. Obviously, we're not in Monroe, but it's nearby, Issaquah and Bothell. So it's important to understand what other people are doing in our valley. I want to add more from communities our size, and then these averages will make more sense. So the next agenda, 2 weeks, you'll see that fleshed out, and you'll hear a recommendation from me. And I'll be discussing this with some other city administrators as well in the area. So that's what I wanted to accomplish at this point, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Ryan. Well, we're down to 10 minutes. We didn't think we'd get to our last topic, which is the American Rescue Plan. I wanted to just mention that our next COW, we're tentatively scheduled to have that all for a discussion on the American Rescue Plan. It's going to take much more than just the one COW. The mayor had directed Finance Director Mason to pull several plans that are already in place for surrounding cities so that we can start looking at those as council. So you should get those shortly. Our next topic is the Complete Streets Grant. Steve, we'll probably give you less than 4 or 5 minutes. I'm just checking to see if we should move that to city council meeting.
I leave that to you folks. I'm certainly more than happy to do it real quick. There isn't a lot of meat on that bone. It's kind of pre-selected, so you tell me.
Mayor, are you okay if we move that to the regular council agenda?
Absolutely.
All righty. Well, that gives us a little bit of a break here before we get into our council meeting. So with that, also with the good of the order, I would just encourage council members when the mayor asks if there's any council members would like to speak. If you have something for the good of the order that we didn't get to here at the COW, please speak up so you can share information coming up. Councilmember Naplin.
I just wanted to double check, was the Complete Streets Grant update coming to so both item 4 and 5 coming to the council meeting?
Item 4 is, Mayor, item 5, do you want to share a little of that information during your mayor's report?
Yeah, it's nothing formal, so it's just an advisory and to start a discussion, so I can mention that mayor's report, and that should be all we need.
Okay, so if I have a question, I can ask it then.
Yep, absolutely.
Great. Well, thank you. Well, with that, we will adjourn our committee of the whole, and we'll see you at 7 o'clock at council. Thank you, everyone.